Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, Cyprus sir ముందే వెళ్ళిపోయారా?
Sir.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is CT2 class. Now we will continue from the last presentation.
Present Revan, sir. Cyprus of తీసేసింది మళ్ళీ.
Okay, ఇస్తున్నాను. ఎవరికి ఇవ్వాలి?
17.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. Can you able to see my PPT?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
PPT is moving in the next slide.
It is on party and
Yes, sir.
nuclear
Sir, moving.
materials.
Party and nuclear metals, page number 2.
Page 2. Now I'm just slideshow. I'm just putting on. So it is in first slide.
No, sir.
No,
Second
it is
slide.
in second slide.
Okay, I will just off my video.
Yes,
Then
sir,
I will try.
That's better, sir.
Yeah. Then I will off my video and try. Just say it whether it is working on slideshow or not. Otherwise, I will present without slideshow. This is slide number 1. Okay.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Then I am moving slide number 2.
No, it
You
is
have
not.
started slideshow now, sir.
Yes. Is it moving or not?
అంటే ఇంకా slideshow start అవ్వలేదు, sir.
Okay. Slideshow start అవ్వలేదు.
సార్ అంటే ఏంటంటే స్లైడ్ షో ఆన్ చేసినప్పుడు అది పీపీటీలో ఇంకో స్క్రీన్ లాగా వస్తుంది. అయితే ఒకసారి మీరు ప్లే చేసి డెస్క్టాప్ మీద వచ్చి మళ్ళీ టీమ్స్లో స్క్రీన్ అనేది ఆ స్క్రీన్ పర్టికులర్ స్క్రీన్కి వేయాలి సార్. ఎందుకంటే స్లైడ్ షో అనేది వేరే విండో లాగా ఓపెన్ అవుతుంది పీపీటీలోనే. సో అందుకే మీరు స్లైడ్ షో వేస్తే వస్తలేదు సార్.
ఓకే డెస్క్టాప్లో ఆల్రెడీ స్లైడ్ షో వేసేసి అప్పుడు రావంటారా?
ఎస్ సార్, అదొకసారి చేయండి సార్. అది వస్తుంది అనుకుంటా.
డెస్క్టాప్లో స్లైడ్ షో చేసిన తర్వాత మనకి ఏది స్క్రీన్ కనిపించదు కదా.
అంటే సార్ మీరు స్లైడ్ షో ఆన్ చేయండి, దాని తర్వాత టీమ్స్కి వచ్చి ఆ స్క్రీన్ సెలెక్ట్ చేయండి సార్, సపరేట్గా ఉంటుంది.
అదే స్లైడ్ షో మనం ఆన్ చేసిన తర్వాత వేరే ఏ స్క్రీన్ రాదు అంటిల్ అన్లెస్ మనం ఎస్కేప్ నొక్కేంత వరకు.
అయితే ఇది చేయండి సార్, టీమ్స్కి వచ్చేసి స్క్రీన్ షేర్
హలో సార్.
సార్ మీకు డెస్క్టాప్ అనే ఆప్షన్ ఉంటుంది సార్, స్క్రీన్ షేర్ స్టార్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆ డెస్క్టాప్ మొత్తం కలిపితే మీ ల్యాప్టాప్ స్క్రీన్ ఏదైతే ఉందో మొత్తం వచ్చేస్తుంది.
ఓకే
మీరు ఓన్లీ పీపీటీ స్క్రీన్ మాత్రమే చేశారు కదా సార్.
ఓకే అర్థమైంది. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ఎస్ సార్, ఇప్పుడు వస్తుంది స్లైడ్ స్క్రీన్. వస్తుంది సార్, వస్తుంది. న్యూక్లియర్ పవర్ అన్ని మూవ్ అవుతున్నాయి సార్. యూనిట్ 1. ఎస్ సార్, సెకండ్ స్లైడ్ న్యూక్లియర్ మెటీరియల్స్.
ఓకే యా దెన్ ఐ విల్ కంటిన్యూ ఫ్రమ్ ద లాస్ట్ క్లాస్. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఐజాక్.
ఎస్ సార్, మీతో ఇంకెవరు కనిపిస్తుందా స్లైడ్ మూవ్ అవుతుంది? పవని?
Yeah.
ఓకే.
This we have already discussed nuclear power in India. Okay, we have around 7 already constructed plants and 7 under construction plants. The details about this is here. So 7 already which are in operational plants are here I have given in Kaiga, Karnataka, which is with a capacity of 880 megawatts, and Kakrapur from Gujarat, Tamil Nadu 2 plants are there, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan 1 plant, and Maharashtra 1 plant is there. Around the installed capacity of 6,680. Okay, you can just go through those websites. All these plants are operated by only one company, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. And then next, these are the under construction. Already construction has been started, and they are yet to be inaugurated. So IGCL Kalapakam, one plant is there, which is operated by Bhavini, and then Kalka Gujarat plant and other all the other 5 plants are operated by NPCL, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, and these are expected by 2026. All these plants will be operational by 2076. Apart from this, there are many plants, around 10 to 12 plants, which are in a developmental stage. That means they are not at construction is not yet started. Okay, you can see the details in the website, in the Bhavani as well as NPCL website. And, next, we already covered the nuclear fuel reserves, which are available at Tumalpalli Belt and Bhima Basin in Karnataka. Okay, and next, economic justification, we already completed this one. How the nuclear power is less costly compared to the um, coal power electricity generation. Okay, then Nuplex we already covered. It is a complex of agricultural, pesticides, and industrial operations like fertilizers, all present in a one single format. In a complex format is called a Nuplex, nuclear agro-industrial complex. Next, we already studied about nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, the differences between these two. And these are the examples for nuclear fission and fusion. And next is nuclear fuel cycle. We already studied about the nuclear fuel cycle. There are the 2 reactors are there. Okay, these 2 reactors. This one is fission reactor, and this one is a breeder reactor. Breeder reactors are used to convert the fertile fuels, which cannot be directly used into a fission reactor. So we have to go through the breeder reactor. Then only we can feed this. After converting to the fission fuel, only we can go to the fission reactor. Okay, we already discussed about this. And next one is important components. You all know there are 4 important components. First component, we are referring now about these 2 reactors, 1 and 2, which are labeled as 1 and 2. We are talking about only the components which are present in these 2 reactors only. So first one will be the fuel, which is in the fissionable form and as well as fertile form. The fissionable fuels are uranium 233 and 235, plutonium 239. Fertile fuels are uranium 238 and thorium 239 around. Okay, so these fuels, the fertile fuels which are there, it can't directly be used in the reactor, which is labeled as 1. Therefore, it needs to undergo certain transformation. In each transformation, this transformation process will liberate 1 electron antineutrino. Then it will be converted into a fission fuel. Then it will go to the reactor number 1, where we can convert the we can have a fission reaction to convert the heat to the electricity. Then next is component is a structural component. In order to lower the neutron absorption capacity of a particular reactor, we need to construct a reactor using the following materials like zirconia, alumina, and stainless steel. And coolants, as nuclear fission reaction will liberate a large amount of heat with a bombarding reactions. Therefore, we needs to just lower the heat released lower the heat release. In order to lower this heat release, we use a coolants like sodium, an alloy of sodium and potassium, bismuth, purified water, deuterium oxide is also known as heavy water. Then moderator. In order to lower the neutron absorption capacity of the structural material as well as the loss of neutron from the overall fission process, we will use a moderator like pure graphite, deuterium oxide, or a heavy water, or a normal purified water, and beryllium we can use. Okay, these are some of the pictures which I have downloaded from Wikipedia. So first one is the uranium, and this is thorium. It will look like this, and this is neptunium and plutonium. Okay, these are the radioactive materials which are used for the fission reaction in the nuclear power plants. Then next topic is the role of chemical engineering in nuclear engineering. And what type of role a chemical engineering has to play in the nuclear engineering? As we can see here, the overall plant is there. These 2 reactors. Okay, first concentration of a chemical engineering will be in designing these 2 reactors. Okay, in the probably in the next semester you will undergo the chemical reaction engineering course. In that you will know how to design the reactors. Okay, how to evaluate the kinetics of a particular process, and then those kinetic parameters will directly be used in order to design or sizing of these reactors. During the chemical reaction engineering course, you will come to know how these reactors will be designed. The first major role played by a chemical engineering is to design the reactors, okay, which is stated here: design and operation of a fission reactors which are useful in nuclear fuel cycle. Okay, design as well as operation. Okay, the chemical engineering has to play a role both in design and operation. And then next one is nuclear raw material separation and preparation. In the flow sheet, you can see that uranium is not at all in a pure form. Okay, it is present with other constituents like sand elements and various other metals, various salts will be there. So this needs certain transformation. After mining, there needs a certain transformation. Like we have to extract the pure uranium, and then in order to increase the concentration of uranium, we need to adopt. We need to have a gases diffusion to enrich the content of uranium in the extracted natural uranium salt. Okay, in order to have the uranium concentration process, a chemical engineering is must needed. Okay, is very much needed, because all these operations, all these unit operations, or whether many unit processes will be there, all these are operated only by the chemical engineering. No other branch of engineering can operate these type of reactors as well as these type of unit operations or unit processes. As we all know, how the chemical units are deviated from other branches of engineering. Only the unit operation, unit processes, and major part of chemical reaction engineering only. Just the difference between a chemical engineering and mechanical engineering and some other branches of engineering like biotechnology. Okay, they are largely deviated. Then next is uranium. And next part is during the nuclear fuel burning and heat removal. In this region, the chemical engineering has a limited role to play. Power plants, in the power plants, hardly you will come across one or two chemical units, because when heat is liberated from the nuclear reactors, it is the functions of electrical engineering or electrical and electronics engineering to convert this steam to electricity. Okay, there is a very limited role, but there is a role for chemical engineering also in just converting, burning the fuels and then extracting the heat from those reactors, and then spent fuel processing. Here, the major role of chemical engineering will encounter here, because the disposal of radioactive waste, which is generated after utilizing the nuclear fuel, is very important. Otherwise, this when we doesn't dispose this nuclear waste, radioactive waste properly, then we will have a health hazards, environmental hazards. Therefore, in order to suppress these health and environmental hazards, we need to properly dispose of, whether it may be landfill or using this radioactive waste for certain other production purposes. It can be designed based on the particular application. Okay, therefore, the major role of chemical engineering can be observed in radioactive waste to disposal. Okay, then next one is the utilization of fission products. Okay, many radioactive waste already produced, as earlier described. Many useful products will also be contained in that nuclear waste. So these the useful products which needs to be segregated, and then we have to decide whether these products are further utilizable, or we just have to just dispose of. Here also the chemical engineering has to play a major role. This is also the same disposal of radioactive waste. This comes under this category, spent fuel reprocessing. Therefore, these six major roles will be played by the chemical engineering in the overall nuclear engineering process. Okay, the overall nuclear energy extraction process, or the electricity generation from the nuclear energy, is referred to as a nuclear engineering, whereas the individual role played inside in each unit operation or unit processes is known as a chemical engineering role. So these are the six roles which are played by a known chemical engineer, qualified chemical engineering person. Okay, then next one is the uranium. Okay, uranium, as we know, the uranium, which is naturally available material as a metal, it is present inside the minerals. It is a basic material, whereas other forms of isotopes like uranium 238, uranium 235, these are also available. 238, 235, these are also available in various isotopic forms. As we all know, what are the isotopic forms? They are they are having the same proton number but different neutron numbers. Okay, So these are nothing but isotopic forms. So they are differing with their neutron number. So the uranium, which is naturally available as a mineral salt or in some sand, pitch blend, these are some of the sources from which uranium can be extracted. In a uranium as a pure form, which is called as a very basic material. It's popularly used in nuclear power plants, and which it can be existed in many isotopic forms like U-233, 235, and fertile fuels like U-238, which is having a atomic number which is equivalent to the protons, and also equivalent to the number of electrons is 92, and it is a silvery metal which is present in a actinide series of a periodic table. And then uranium atom has a 92 protons already, it is which is same as that electrons. And the most popular isotopic forms of uranium are nothing but U-235 and U-238. Out of these two, U-235 is the fissionable fuel, which can be directly used in the fission reactor, whereas the fertile fuel U-238 form of isotopic form of uranium we can't use directly into the fission reactor. We have to go through the breeder reactor, then only we can obtain a electricity from this. And the density is 70% higher than that of a lead. Uranium has a density higher than 70% higher than that of a lead, whereas it is very slightly lower than that of gold and tungsten. So some properties of the uranium. And as far as the research concerns, uranium occurs in very low concentration in soils, rocks, and water. But this can be extracted using a pitch blend. Pitch blend is also called as a uranite. In some regions, pitch blend is also called as a uraninite. Okay, in uraninite is nothing but a mineral soil from which uranium can be directly extracted. Okay, all then overall the naturally found uranium composition in any type of sources, we have only 0.714 percentage of fissionable fuel. Okay, rest will be the fertile fuel in the form of U-238. Only fissionable fuel will be available in a limited extent. That too, the maximum extent is only 0.714 percentage only. Rest all will be available as a fertile fuel. So we need two-state transformation process in order to extract electricity from the nuclear this type of fuels. We have to adapt it to and more than one stage, that may be a two-stage or three-stage process, by going to the breeder reactor and then going to the fission reactor, and then spending a more time in this conversion process from the fertile to fission and then fission to electricity. Okay, we can't directly use the fissionable fuel because very limited quantity of fission fuel is available in nature. So when we extracted all this fuel, we need to enrich these fuels. Okay, as we can see from this flow sheet here, the one block is there, enrichment by gases diffusion. Okay, the gas like uranium hexafluoride UF6 is used to enrich the uranium content in that particular type of salt which is already found. Okay, you may consider any source of uranium. Here there are four sources of uranium which are available. So the first source is the pitch blend, which is also known as uraninite. Uraninite. Okay, in some regions it is also known as uraninite, which will contain 1 to 10%, more than 10% uranium in this composition. These sources are arranged according to the descending order of their availability of uranium. For example, pitch blend will contain 1 to greater than 10% uranium, and coronite, which will contain 0.1 to 0.5% uranium only. Whereas monazite sand, it will contain 0.25% uranium. And finally, the phosphate rock inclusions, nothing but a phosphate rocks, which will contain only a trace amount, 0.01 to 0.03% uranium. So chemical engineering or a chemical engineer has to play a major role in enriching this content of uranium. As you can see, very trace amount, not even a 10%. Whether it may be here it is written as greater than 10%. We can consider it is nothing apart from compared to other compositions of sand or other metals, other minerals which are in a blended form with the uranium. It is nothing. So therefore, we have to enrich more and more composition of uranium into it. Then these are the 4 types of sources. It is many times it has asked in your short answer questions. You can take it. Then next one is the conversion process, uranium conversion process. Okay, the salt, uranyl nitrate salt will be available in a nature as such, which is given in the first formula. This is called uranyl nitrate. Okay, which will look like this one, yellowish color, yellowish, somewhat greenish, yellowish or somewhat greenish color, yellow green combination color. Okay, as you can see from this picture, this is then sent to the denitration column, where the nitrous oxide, nitrous dioxide will just recovered back, just extracted from this salt composition in order to obtain a uranium trioxide. Okay, after obtaining the uranium trioxide, the hydrogenation process will take place. Nothing but a reduction process. Opposite is a reduction process. We need to extract a oxygen from it by using a hydrogen enrichment. So this is called a reduction process. You can see in the denitration process, we are just using the uranyl nitrate salt. Just denitration is happening. We are separating out the what we call the nitric acid. At the same time, we are extracting uranium trioxide by separating the nitric acid and water from it. Okay, it is in the form of a uh, okay, it is not a completely salt. It is in a slurry form, which can be denitrated to extract a nitric acid. Then the final form will be the uranium trioxide, and after that the reduction process or the hydrogen enrichment process is to be carried out in order to give it a uranium dioxide. Okay, the reaction can be found out in the red color font. UO3 gives rise to UO2 plus half O2. Then after that, after opening the UO2 uranium dioxide, we can directly use this as a fuel element preparation for the nuclear fuel reactors. Otherwise, we can further convert this uranium dioxide into the uranium fluoride. Okay, uranium fluoride we can convert UF4, which is nothing but a UF4. So here, to convert the uranium dioxide to the uranium fluoride, we need to we need to have a hydrofluorination process using the hydrogen fluoride, HF. Okay, so the reaction will be given here in the violet color. UO2 plus 4 hydrogen fluoride will give a UF4 plus uranium fluoride plus H2O. So 2H2O. Then one other process is also possible using the uranium dioxide, which is a carbide furnancing. Using the pure graphite or a pure carbon, we can just obtain a uranium carbide, which is here given as UX. Any number of X can take any number, and C can take any number, which is nothing but uranium carbide. Okay, which is a fuel grade, which is useful directly to prepare a fuel fabrication process in the nuclear power plant. Okay, this is one grade possible, uranium carbide. So the corresponding reaction which is taking place in carbide furnacing is given as saffron color. You can observe here UO2 plus 4C gives rise to uranium carbide plus 2CO, 2 carbon monoxide. Okay, these are the fuel grade uranium compositions, conversion processes. We can stop here, otherwise the further conversion can be possible. After hydrogen fluoride hydrofluorination, we will obtain a um, uranium fluoride, and here after carbide furnancing, we will obtain uranium carbide. Okay, this process the further can be extended using the alkali metals like calcium and magnesium. Using these alkali metals, calcium and magnesium, a reduction process will be possible. The reduction process, the reaction, corresponding reaction is given in a gray color here. UF4, the UF4 which is obtained after the hydrofluorination process can be used for reduction using a metal. Okay, alkali metal like calcium and magnesium. Here the one of the reaction with a alkali metal like calcium is given UF4 plus with a combination of two calcium can yield a pure uranium metal with a CaF2, which is calcium fluoride. Calcium with a 2 molecules of calcium fluoride it can yield, which is this reaction you can find in a gray color. Then further this uranium fluoride can be fluorinated in order to obtain a uranium hexafluoride. Okay, uranium hexafluoride, which is very much important in the enrichment process of uranium from the metal salts. As you can see in this figure, it is very important operation. In order to enrich the content of uranium, the enrichment by the gases uranium hexafluoride is very much important. Therefore, we have to convert our final initial salt, uranyl nitrate salt, to the uranium hexafluoride is very much feasible using this following all these operations. The corresponding fluorination reactions is given in the dark blue color here. UF4 plus fluorine F2 fluorine is gives rise to uranium hexafluoride. This is the overall uranium conversion process. In each stage, we will obtain a one form of uranium like UO2. UO3 is the first form. The corresponding reaction will be these two reactions, which is given in blue color. And next form of a uranium is the UO2, uranium dioxide. So the corresponding equation for the reduction from UO2 to UO3 to UO2 is given in red color. You can find the reaction here. Okay, then the next forms are UF4, uranium fluoride, and uranium carbide, UxCy. Okay, for obtaining these two forms, we have to make happen these two hydrofluorination process and carbide furnacing process. After these two process, we can obtain a next form of uranium, which is uranium fluoride and uranium carbide. After obtaining a uranium format, further the next form of uranium, which is a pure metal form, uranium, which is indicated as U, can be obtained using a alkali reduction. Like alkalis like calcium and magnesium can be used to reduce the alkali. Further to these salts can be reduced to pure uranium. Then fluorination is the possible steps in order to get a uranium hexafluoride UF6. Okay, this UF6 has a many application. In order to enrich the content of uranium from any salt, it is very much useful, as you can see from the nuclear fuel cycle. The corresponding reaction is given in the blue color, dark blue color, and the reduction using alkali reaction is given in the gray color. Okay, then the saffron color reaction is nothing but a hydrogen this carbide furnacing process, and the violet color reaction is given for the hydrofluorination process. This is the overall flow chart for the uranium conversion processes, or the methods for uranium, or the different forms for uranium. In your previous question papers, they are asking what are the methods available for conversion of uranium. Otherwise, they could ask that what are the various forms of uranium. Otherwise, they can ask the what are the sources. Already we have given you the sources. Okay, only two possible questions here. What are the uranium conversion process? What are the methods available for conversion of uranium? What are the various forms of uranium? Three questions are possible here according to your old question papers. Okay, hope this flow sheet is understandable, I guess. Can anybody confirm?
Yes,
As I
sir.
have to repeat. I have to repeat once again.
Sir, repeat once again.
Okay, yeah. Okay, the questions according to your old question paper is possible. I hope this you already understood. Pure metal. You can search through Wikipedia. All these, how many sources? Four sources are there. They have just given a pictures. Now I will explain deeply about this flow sheet. The first is the uranyl salt will be there. Uranium nitrate salt. Uh, uranyl nitrate salt will be there, which you can see here. It is a yellow or greenish color, or a combination of yellow green color. Okay, yellowish green color salt will be there. This salt contains the trace amount of uranium. Okay, to extract this uranium, there are many forms of uranium like UO3, UO2, UF4, UC, UF6. Okay, in order to obtain this, the basic salt used is a uranyl nitrate salt. And the first process, in order to convert this uranyl salt to the uranium trioxide, we need to have a denitration process. Denitration process is nothing but a extraction of nitrates, whether it may be nitrous oxide and nitrous dioxide. Okay, the in which the reaction corresponding to this denitration process is given in a blue color, in which in each step the nitric acid will be extracted out, and the final product is UO3, uranium trioxide. Okay, after that, this is first form of a uranium product. And after that, in order to obtain a uranium dioxide, okay, which is a fuel grade process. Uranium trioxide, which can't be used as a direct fuel, or for the preparation or fabrication of a fuel, we can't use uranium trioxide. Therefore, we have to convert to uranium dioxide. In order to convert uranium trioxide to uranium dioxide, we have to undergo a reduction process or a hydrogen enrichment process. The corresponding reaction for this enrichment or a reduction process is nothing but the reaction which is given in a red color. UO3 gives rise to UO2 plus half H2O, which is a reduction process. Okay, after that, this can be used as a fuel element for the nuclear power production. Otherwise, we can go for the next forms, further forms of uranium, like uranium fluoride and uranium carbide. Okay, in order to obtain a uranium fluoride from uranium dioxide, we have to undergo a hydrofluorination process. Okay, hydrofluorination process is nothing but hydrogen fluorine. Hydrofluorine can be used in this process in order to get a form of uranium hydrofluoride. The corresponding reaction which is carried out in a hydrofluorination is given in a violet color. You can see uranium dioxide is combined with hydrogen fluoride, 4 molecules of hydrogen fluoride, to give a 1 molecule of uranium fluoride plus 2 molecules of water. Okay, this is the reaction for the hydrofluorination process. Similarly, this uranium dioxide can be converted into uranium carbide. Okay, using the carbide furnacing process, just heating that using a carbon, we can obtain a uranium carbide. Okay, X can be can take any number, and Y can take any number. Okay, they have given in a general form X and Y. Okay, the corresponding reaction for this carbide furnacing is given in a saffron color. You can find that uranium dioxide here from the reduction process is directly used in the carbide furnacing using the 4 molecules of pure carbon. Then this pure carbon is combined with uranium dioxide to yield a uranium carbide UC2 with a corresponding liberation of 2 molecules of carbon monoxide, which is very toxic. And we can stop here. We can stop here by converting the various two forms of uranium, like uranium fluoride and uranium carbide. This can directly be used in a fuel grade. For the fabrication of fuel, we can use the uranium carbide. Otherwise, if you don't like this form of uranium for our final production, we can undergo certain other processes. Like the first one among those converting uranium fluoride is reduction process. Reduction process is carried out using the two alkali metals. The alkali metals here used is calcium or magnesium we can use. The example reaction for this reduction process using alkali is given in a gray color, where uranium fluoride can be combined with the 2 molecules of calcium, which can give a pure metal of uranium with a calcium fluoride, with the 2 molecules of calcium fluoride as given in this gray reaction. Okay, further this uranium fluoride can be converted to the uranium hexafluoride UF6 using a fluorination process. Nothing but a addition of fluorine to this uranium fluoride. Okay, we will enrich this uranium fluoride content using the pure fluorine. So the corresponding reaction for this fluorination process is given in a dark blue color. UF4 is combined with 1 molecule of fluorine to give a 1 molecule of uranium hexafluoride. Okay, this uranium hexafluoride has many applications in any form of salt for to enrich the uranium in any form of salt, whether it may be a pitch blend or some other sources from other sources like uranite, in any form of uranium can be enriched using this uranium hexafluoride. Okay, you can see from the flow sheet which I have already given in the nuclear fuel cycle. Here in the enrichment process, UF6 has to play a major role. Okay, I hope this time it understood.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody? Everybody understood this one? Flowchart from boys.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I will continue next one.
Yes, sir.
So, how much time is there? Time is there, I guess. I said time is there. Shall I continue?
28
Yes,
minutes.
sir. Yes, sir. More than half an hour you have. Up to
Oh.
250.
Okay, no problem then. Yeah. Okay, then the next topic or the final topic in your part A of unit 1 is the heavy water. Heavy water is nothing but a deuterium trioxide. As you can see from this top figure, there are isotopic. These are all the isotopic forms of hydrogen. Okay, in our water we can observe this isotopic form of hydrogen, the pure hydrogen, which has a one proton. Okay, one proton, and then this is the next isotopic form of a hydrogen, which has one proton along with the along with the one neutron. Okay, which is given here. You can see this is a deuterium, and the next form is tritium. Okay, which has a two neutrons along with one proton. These are the three forms of isotopes, with isotopes of hydrogen, which are available in nature. Okay, these are already present in our drinking water. Very trace amounts will be there. It is also present in our human body also. Around 5 grams of this deuterium will be present in our heavy water, is present in our human body also, but it is not at all harmful. Okay, only large concentrations of this deuterium is harmful for the human being. In the trace amounts, it is not at all harmful. According to the definition, what is the definition of heavy water? Heavy water is nothing but a highly enriched water mixture that contains mostly deuterium oxide, DTO, but also some hydrogen deuterium oxide, HTO, and a smaller amount of ordinary hydrogen oxide, which is H2O. Okay, heavy water is nothing but a larger fraction of this is having a deuterium oxide composition. Okay, in a normal water, very less amount, 0.0012 something will be deuterium is available. But our main aim here is to manufacture a heavy water with a more than 99% of deuterium composition. Okay, these deuterium will have many applications. Okay, in the as a moderator, as a human activity measurement, human metabolic activity measurement, many applications are there. Okay, this is the definition of a heavy water. Then it is also a form of water. It will look like similar to the water. Okay, it does not deviate much from our normal water. Okay, heavy water is also a form of water. The next is, it contains a large it will have what we call large amount of deuterium composition. You can see what is the difference between deuterium, tritium, and protium. Okay, protium is nothing but our ordinary form of water. Okay, the form of hydrogen which is present here largely in our drinking water is known as protium. Okay, whereas in heavy water the deuterium will be present. The second isotope of hydrogen will be present. Okay, the next point is, the presence of deuterium gives the water different nuclear properties. Okay, deuterium when present in more than 99%, it will give a nuclear properties, but we can't say that is a radioactive material. Okay, whereas uranium or thorium, neptunium, plutonium, these are also having a nuclear properties, but they are containing a radioactivity inside it. Then what is the radioactivity? Okay, radioactive metals which will release the alpha and beta particles. Unlike the x-rays, we can control the x-rays. That's why in order to evaluate the human body, we will use the x-rays. Okay, we can control that x-rays, we can shut off immediately. But whereas these alpha and beta particles which are liberated during the usage of radioactive metal, we can't control it. Once it started, it will not controllable. Okay, which will not normally controllable. That's why they deviate largely. X-rays are largely deviated from the radioactive materials. Okay, like this deuterium, like this uranium, thorium, etc. Okay, these are having very much applications in the spectroscopy, as we all deeply involved in the chemistry. So this deuterium is very much useful in order to evaluate the infrareds and other spectroscopic methods. Okay, we can just differentiate between the heavy water and the normal water. A molecule of heavy water will have a two deuterium atoms in place of a two protenium atoms of ordinary light water. In ordinary light water, only two proteniums, the first form of isotope, as you can see from the top picture. Two molecules of a light water contains two molecules of the protenium, whereas the heavy water will contains two molecules of deuterium. Okay, the weight of heavy water is not substantially different from the our normal water. Okay, humans can drink this water, heavy water, but it is dangerous when the composition when this heavy water will replace a normal water of a human body more than 50 percentage only. It is harmful when the heavy when this heavy water get replaced the normal water of a human body by more than 50%, then only it's said that drinking deuterium drinking this heavy water is very problematic for the human beings. Otherwise we can drink a heavy water in a normal proportions. Okay, then these deuterium will have a many application, like in the Canadian nuclear reactors the deuterium finds many very much application. They can it is popularly known as CANDU reactors, Canadian deuterium reactors, Canadian deuterium uranium reactors, which can directly be produced the electricity. Okay, these founds many applications in CANDU reactors. Therefore, the primary role here of a chemical engineering is to enrich the content of deuterium in the normal or a heavy water. Okay, then we already described heavy water is not at all a radioactive, though it will give some of the nuclear properties to the heavy water. Then next one is okay, human body will naturally contain the 5 grams of around the 5 grams of heavy water or a deuterium inside our body, but it is not at all harmful. When a large fraction of water greater than 50% in higher organisms or like a human bodies is replaced by heavy water, then only it will be a harmful, like it will create a cell dysfunction, or eventually it will lead to a death also. Okay, heavy water is having a 11% more density than the normal lighter water. Okay, these are certain properties of the heavy water. Hope you understood this one. Then applications we already seen during our nuclear fuel cycle. The large number of heavy waters can be used as a coolant as well as a moderator. Moderator is used, you can find in this point moderator, it can be used in order to lower the absorption capacity of a neutron, since neutrons are very much costly in the nuclear fuel production process. Therefore we need to suppress the neutron absorption capacity of a nuclear power plant. In order to do so, we have to use a heavy water as a moderator. um, Apart from these, there are many applications for the heavy water, like it can be prepared, this heavy water can be used to preparation of a pure deuterium. It has many application. Pure deuterium has a many application in a NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. Okay, it can be used as a tracer in the mechanism of respiration, in order to evaluate the respiration process as well as the photosynthesis process in the plants. This can be used as a tracer material. Tracer is nothing but a evaluating criteria of any type of product. Like we will use a glacial acetic acid during the chemical reaction engineering practicals. You will know the glacial acetic acid, how this glacial acetic acid can be used as a tracer in order to evaluate the dynamics of that particular reactor. Okay, we will give a small amount of tracer composition into the reactor, and then we evaluate the motion of this tracer, how this tracer is moving around the reactor, so that we can evaluate the non-ideal reactors. Ideal reactors will behave ideally, but non-ideal reactors will behave completely different. So in order to evaluate the behavior of a non-ideal reactors, we will use a tracer composition. So in order to evaluate a respiration and photosynthesis, we will use the deuterium as a tracer, heavy water as a tracer. Okay, then deuterium can find a many application in the nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, which is used to observe the magnetic field around the nuclei of atoms. Okay, probably the chemistry people will know more about this nuclear magnetic resonance. And next one is the isotopes. It can be used as a isotopes in many organic compounds. Okay, in the preparation of many organic compounds. Then next one is the heavy water is often used instead of a normal water in infrared spectroscopy. Okay, the normal waters will have some contaminated particles, whereas this heavy water will be in a pure form. It can be used in the IR, infrared spectroscopy, like Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy. We can use this heavy water, and as described earlier, so it can be used as a moderator. At the same time, in order to evaluate the human metabolic activity, it can be used. Okay, in the testing of human metabolic activity, the heavy water can be used. Okay, there are many applications. For us this is sufficient, this number of applications are sufficient. As you can see from the right side, there is a world history, how this history of heavy water is history of heavy water is evaluated in our universe. The American scientist, you can see in the first figure, the American scientist who is also a Nobel laureate, Harold Urey. He is the first to discover the isotope of hydrogen, which is a deuterium. He is the first member who noticed there is a other isotopic form of hydrogen, which is a deuterium. Then his mentor, okay, his mentor, the next figure is his mentor or a PhD thesis guide, you can say, his supervisor, you can say. He is a Gilbert Newton Lewis. He is the first person. He just take up this Nobel laureate Harold Urey's work, and then first synthesized the heavy water, and then many other people followed their work and then used this heavy water in various biological activities. Then why, according to your syllabus, there is no such a history or something? But out of this context, I am just saying to remember these people. These people has done many hard works. Because of this only, we are just using the nuclear power. So in order to just remember these fellows, I am just giving their pictures here. Just you can use it. There is nothing as a history in your syllabus. You can use their pictures. And then what about heavy water production in our India? Okay, our India is the world's largest producer of heavy water. Okay, we can proudly say that our India is producing a largest amount of heavy water here. Okay, then we are the exporters of this heavy water to the Korea and USA. Okay, we can also proudly say that we are the exporters of heavy water to the Korea and USA. Okay, then in India, the research of this heavy water started in three stages, three-stage development. It is popularly known as a three-stage development of a heavy water board in India. We have a separate heavy water board in our India, which is under the control of Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India, whose control is directly linked to our in the hands of our Honorable Prime Minister, Government of India. Okay, the research in India has been started by the Chemical Engineering Division of a Baba Atomic Research Center in 1960s. They are the first. This Chemical Engineering Division of the Baba Atomic Research Center has been started researching about heavy water in India during the times of 1960. And Department of Atomic Energy has commissioned the first heavy water plant in the Punjab. Okay, and under the administrative control of Nuclear National Fertilizers Limited, popularly known as NFL. Okay, in the Punjab region. Now this is dismantled because some of the security reasons. This plant has been dismantled, so this is not at all producing heavy water. Heavy water, this plant, but the history says that the first heavy water plant was started in the Punjab only. Then heavy water board currently has a seven heavy water plants around the country. Okay, they are located here. In Gujarat, two plants are there. In Rajasthan, one plant is there. In Manuguru, Telangana, there is one plant, and Orissa one plant, and Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu has one plant each. Okay, you can go through the Department of Atomic Energy website. You can find the details about this plant, what type of technology they are using in synthesizing the heavy water plant. Okay, you can know more about these plants, how they are undergoing the further research process, how the Department of Atomic Energy, Baba Atomic Research Centers, and Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Energy has been carrying out various research projects under the Heavy Water Developmental Board. Okay, you can see many research projects which are undergone by these heavy water boards. Okay, that's all for today. Tomorrow we will study about heavy water production and various major engineering problems which we can encountered in synthesizing this heavy water. You can just go through the material which I have given for the unit 1 as well as the slides. You can use this video. Once the slides, this PPT is ready for unit 1, I will just share with you. You can go through this one. Hope you enjoy this presentation very much. Okay, my sincere suggestion is remember those who have already worked for this particular type of research. I already given for the nuclear power generation. These people like Baba, Homi Jahangir Baba, and Meghna Saha. These are the people who have worked a lot initially in order to get the nuclear power for India. At the same time, these are the people, our Nobel laureate and his mentor, Lewis, Dr. Lewis, these people have worked a lot initially to develop the heavy water. So without heavy water, we can't assume the current production of nuclear energy in our India or in the world. So we need to remember these guys very much. Okay. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay, from boys' side, any doubts?
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Time is there.
More 12 minutes, sir.
Okay, 12 minutes. Okay, I will take attendance. Okay, that is a separate flow sheet. We need to go through the production process separately. So I will not start now this one, heavy water production. Therefore, you just study what is the heavy water first, and then you come to know what are the isotopes, what are the various forms of isotopes, what are their role. Okay, just try to study this one. Then tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I will just explain the this flow sheet. Okay, then you come to know what are the major engineering glitches encountered in this particular production process. Okay, then I will take attendance now. Okay, I think number 1 is absent. Okay, one present. It is coming from 13. This voice is coming from 13. Fifth hour. Okay. Okay, I hope one is absent. So number 2.
Sir, one is present, sir. Her mic is not working, it seems.
But it is not. She's not in the participant list here. I can't see her in the participant list.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, now she's there. Maybe she came now or what? Any network problem?
సార్
Okay,
అప్పుడు
I am
అంత
giving
నెట్వర్క్ ప్రాబ్లం కూడా
attendance.
పోయింది, ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ యాడ్ చేసిన సార్. ఇందాక పోయింది, మెసేజ్ చేసింది, మళ్ళీ యాడ్ చేయాలి, ఇప్పుడు యాడ్ చేసిన సార్.
Okay, then no problem. 2,
Present, sir.
3, number 3,
Present, sir.
4,
Present, sir.
5,
Present, sir.
6,
Present, sir.
7, 7. Okay, 8,
సార్
8.
సార్ 7 present సార్.
Okay. 9,
Present, sir.
okay. 11,
present సార్.
13,
present సార్.
14, 15, 15,
15 మైక్ పని చేయట్లేదు సార్.
ఓకే ఎన్నాళ్ళు చెప్తాడు సేమ్.
అది 42 సార్, 42 పని చేస్తుంది. 15 మళ్ళీ ఈ రోజే వచ్చింది సార్, ఆయన పని చేయట్లేదు అంటే ఈ రోజే అకౌంట్ వచ్చింది ఆయన.
ఓకే 23,
23 present, sir.
26,
present సార్.
27,
Present, sir.
28,
Present, sir.
29,
Present, sir.
32,
Present, sir.
33,
Present, sir.
34,
Present, sir.
36, 36,
present సార్.
39,
present సార్.
42, 44, 44 is not there. Okay, 49, 49,
present సార్. present సార్.
okay, 16, 19, 20 is there. 16,
17, 19, 20
17, 19, 20. Okay, they are
ప్రెసెంట్
present.
వస్తున్నాం సార్ ముగ్గురం.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then 16, 17 batch.
Sir, 24 branch, sir.
17 batch, 24, 32,
Branch, sir.
32, 16 batch, 24.
Absent. Absent, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay, I hope you understood this one lecture. Hope you are enjoying or not. PPTs.
సార్ పీపీటీ మంచిగా ఇన్ఫర్మేటివ్ క్లియర్ ఉంది సార్.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. You don't have to study. Don't worry. History. I'm telling anything about that history and everything. Just refer a notes. Okay, that is more than enough. Notes is more than enough. But apart from that, I'm just giving a information. Okay, don't just confuse. Okay.
ఓకే
Yeah.
సార్.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.
బాయ్ సార్.
సార్
హెచ్ఓడి నాకు హార్డ్ చేయరా.
అంటే నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్ ఎవరు?
హెచ్ఓడి
Lalita ma'am.
రికార్డింగ్ ఆపలేదు ఇంకా మాట్లాడుకుంటే